I was always fascinated by the idea of disappearing from public life and then reappearing years later with a new identity, having accomplished something significant in the meantime, like reinventing myself or achieving success in a different field. I mean, how many times have you seen it in movies? The hero disappears for 10 years, gets super rich, comes back and buys his father's farm or becomes a millionaire entrepreneur. Whatever. But in real life, it's not that easy. Disappearing comes with its own set of problems. Even if you leave your old life behind, there's no guarantee you'll be able to start over somewhere else because the internet remembers everything and everyone. On top of that, you don't know what kind of people you're going to meet in your new place. That is, unless you control who meets you by creating your own space. And what better way to do that than build your own house? So here's how to disappear completely and build your own home from scratch. Step 1. Choose a place. You can't just vanish into thin air. You need a location, an address. You need a place to call home. Now, the obvious choice would be to pick a place far away from where you currently live so that nobody from your past could find you. But since the internet has all the information about every single place on Earth, moving far away doesn't really help much. Plus, you want to make sure that you can get a mortgage and actually buy some land. And if you're thinking about going off the grid in the middle of nowhere, think again. No one wants to lend you money for a cabin in the woods. Your best bet is to move to a different state entirely. States are big enough so you won't run into anyone you know, yet they still have plenty of cities, towns, and neighborhoods for you to choose from. So you need to decide what kind of environment you want to live in. Do you want a house in the suburbs, a city loft, or a beach hut? Step 2. Buy some land. It's time to look for a plot of land. Where will you build your house? What will the view be like? How close are you to the nearest grocery store? As far as the plot goes, there are 3 options. You can buy some land and then hire an architect and a contractor to design and build your house for you. This option is the most expensive and will require the most work from you. You'll need to spend lots of time thinking about square footage, materials, number of bathrooms, how many plug outlets you want, and so on. If you lack the energy to deal with all this, you can also buy a kit home. These are pretty affordable and come with detailed instructions on how to put them together. You'll need to assemble the walls, insulation, roof, and everything else according to the manufacturer's instructions. Or you can go with the quickest and easiest option and buy a prefabricated home. This is basically a modern-day house in a box. You pick the model, the company builds it at their factory, and then they deliver and assemble it on your empty plot of land. This is definitely the easiest option, but it's also the least customizable. Step 3. Provide yourself with utilities. There's nothing quite like living off the grid in your very own house in the middle of nature. Well, unless you have running water and electricity. While you can opt out of installing cable TV or an internet connection, ditching electricity and running water entirely might not be the best idea. Not only are they convenient, but they also add value to your property. Plus, you do not want to scare off future buyers with a derelict shack in the middle of the woods, right? So, how do you hook up to the utilities? First, contact your local water provider and ask them about connecting to the municipal water supply. You'll need to pay an upfront fee for the connection and then install pipes from the connection point to your house. Electricity is a little more complicated because depending on where you live, you might not be close enough to power lines to connect to the grid. In this case, you'll have to invest in solar panels and a battery system to store the energy. And finally, don't forget about sewage disposal. Connect to the local sewage system if possible. Otherwise, you'll need to install a septic tank. Step 4. Be careful what you wish for. Now that you've picked a place, built your house, and connected it to utilities, you can finally move in. This is it. You can disappear and become whoever you want to be. Wait, hold on. Why is there a news crew outside? And why did they ask if you're John Doe? Are you John Doe? Come again. You disappeared because you were afraid of what others would say, yet you chose the exact same place and bought the exact same house as John Doe. And now you're just copying his life. Well, if you didn't want to be John Doe, you could have chosen any other name and address. But why would you do that when you have a front row seat to watch what happens next? This is like being in the audience of The Twilight Zone. Nothing you do matters. The outcomes are all predetermined. Your choices have no meaning. Wait, if you can't disappear, then why do anything at all? Shouldn't you just stay in your current place and deal with whatever problems you have? Well, yes, that would be easier. But let's say you made up your mind. You want to start fresh. You want to build your own house and disappear. How could you do it without leaving a trace? Well, here's a crazy idea. Why don't you build your house in space? Yes, you heard that right. You can build your own house in space, so you can literally disappear off the face of the Earth. And you wouldn't be alone. There are already a few space hotels you can choose from, such as the Voyager station, which has rotating modules to simulate gravity. Or check out the Orbital Assembly, which even features its own brand of bottled space water. The catch is, you'll need a couple $1 million to afford a stay there. But hey, if you're serious about disappearing, then you should have a couple $1 million lying around, right? Well, I guess that's a problem too. Can't spend money if you don't have a job. Can't get a job without money. Great. Just great. The thing is, you probably won't disappear even if you quit your job, sell all your stuff, and buy a ticket to Mars. Every single thing we do leaves a digital footprint. When we interact with others, we leave traces of our presence on their devices through our fingerprints or the DNA under our fingernails. We leave footprints in the sand or tire tracks in the snow. Even our brain activity leaves traces. We constantly emit electromagnetic waves which reveal how our brains process information. So the question isn't how to disappear, but should you? Why do you want to disappear in the first place? Is it worth spending all that money, time, and effort just to hide from your problems? Whatever your answer is, keep in mind that the world is full of people who have managed to overcome similar challenges to yours. The vast majority of people never disappear, but they do manage to transform themselves and their lives. They might not have a house in a new town, but they do have something much more valuable: hope. So instead of trying to erase your past, focus on building a better future for yourself.